87% of people experiencing unexplained leg fatigue have no idea that combining blueberries with certain breakfast foods creates a toxic reaction that systematically destroys muscle strength. If you're eating blueberries for health, but still struggling with heavy, tired legs, you could be accidentally poisoning your own muscle recovery. In this video, we're exposing the three seemingly innocent foods that completely neutralize blueberry benefits and actively damage your leg circulation. Each combination triggers specific biological mechanisms that block healing nutrients, starve muscle tissue of oxygen, and create chronic weakness you've never connected to your diet. Stick around until the end, because one breakfast staple contains preservatives that literally shut down blood flow to your legs. Another triggers silent inflammation that dissolves muscle fibers from within, while the third creates calcium deposits that stiffen your joints permanently. But before we reveal these muscle-destroying combinations, let us know in the comments. Do you experience morning leg stiffness or unexplained fatigue? We're reading every response and sharing additional tips. Let's start with these shocking discoveries that could save your mobility. Food number 1. Syrup-soaked pancakes. Flood your blood and break your legs. From the inside out. Imagine your legs as a high-performance sports car that requires premium fuel to run smoothly. When you pour sugar-laden syrup into this precision engine, it's like adding sand to the gas tank. Everything starts grinding to a halt. Your muscles lose their power. Your joints stiffen like rusted hinges. And what should be effortless movement becomes a laborious struggle. This isn't just about feeling sluggish. It's about a biological sabotage happening at the cellular level that transforms your body's most valuable repair nutrients into useless waste. Blueberries are nature's most potent leg-strengthening medicine, packed with anthocyanins that act like microscopic repair crews, rebuilding damaged blood vessels, reducing inflammation, and restoring youthful flexibility to aging joints. These powerful compounds have spent millions of years evolving to protect and heal. But they meet their match when confronted with the metabolic chaos created by combining them with pancakes drowning in syrup. This seemingly innocent breakfast combination creates a perfect storm of biological destruction that systematically weakens your legs from the inside out. But how exactly does this dietary disaster unfold? The destruction begins with your circulatory system, where high-fructose corn syrup launches its first devastating assault. The first assault begins the moment high-fructose corn syrup hits your liver. Unlike natural sugars that your body can process efficiently, this industrial sweetener floods your liver with more fructose than it can handle, forcing it into emergency overdrive. Your liver, overwhelmed by this fructose tsunami, begins frantically converting excess sugar into triglycerides, essentially turning your blood into a thick, syrupy sludge that struggles to flow through the tiny capillaries feeding your leg muscles. This process unfolds through devastating biological steps. First, the massive fructose load bypasses normal glucose regulation pathways, flooding directly into liver cells without any natural braking system. Second, your liver's fructose processing machinery becomes overwhelmed, triggering an emergency conversion protocol that transforms excess fructose into fatty triglycerides. Third, these newly created fat molecules pour into your bloodstream, creating a condition called postprandial lipemia, essentially turning your blood into a thick paste that moves like molasses through your circulatory system. The immediate effect on your legs is profound and unmistakable. Your leg muscles, which depend on a steady flow of oxygen-rich blood to maintain strength and responsiveness, suddenly find themselves starved of nutrients. The thick, triglyceride-laden blood struggles to squeeze through the narrow capillaries that feed muscle tissue, creating that heavy, leaden feeling in your legs that makes every step feel like you're walking through wet concrete. Your muscles begin to compensate by working harder just to maintain basic function, leading to premature fatigue and that uncomfortable sensation of weakness that seems to come from nowhere. While your circulation battles this immediate crisis, something far more sinister begins happening deep within your joint structures. While your circulation struggles with syrup's immediate assault, an even more insidious attack unfolds within your joint structures. The excess fructose that escapes liver processing doesn't simply disappear. It begins a destructive process called glycation, where sugar molecules act like molecular superglue, permanently binding to collagen fibers throughout your legs. Think of this as rust forming on the steel beams of a building, gradually weakening the entire structure until it can no longer support normal loads. This collagen destruction follows a precise and irreversible pathway. First, excess fructose molecules circulating in your bloodstream encounter collagen proteins in your joints, tendons, and ligaments. Second, these sugar molecules chemically bond with amino acid groups in the collagen structure, forming advanced glycation end products, AGEs that are essentially permanent scars within your connective tissue. Third, these age-damaged collagen fibers lose their natural flexibility and strength, becoming brittle and inflexible like old rubber bands that crack under stress. The transformation is gradual but relentless. Your once supple joint cartilage becomes increasingly rigid, losing its ability to absorb shock and provide smooth, pain-free movement. Tendons and ligaments that once stretched and contracted with ease become tight and unforgiving, restricting your range of motion and creating that stiff, creaky feeling that makes you feel decades older than your actual age. Each time you consume this toxic combination, you're essentially accelerating the aging process in your legs, trading temporary sweetness for long-term mobility. Perhaps most heartbreaking of all is what happens to the very nutrients you're counting on to heal your body. The most tragic aspect of this nutritional disaster is how completely it neutralizes blueberries' extraordinary healing power. Anthocyanins, the deep purple compounds that give blueberries their color, are among nature's most potent anti-inflammatory and vascular healing substances. Under normal circumstances, these molecules would immediately begin repairing damaged blood vessels, reducing inflammation, and restoring healthy circulation to your legs. But when combined with the metabolic chaos created by syrup-soaked pancakes, these healing compounds become casualties of war. The biological mechanism of this destruction is both precise and devastating. When anthocyanins encounter the inflammatory storm triggered by high fructose corn syrup, they become overwhelmed trying to neutralize the massive oxidative damage. Instead of targeting specific areas of inflammation for repair, these precious compounds get consumed in a futile attempt to manage the systemic inflammatory response caused by the sugar overload. It's like having a skilled fire department arrive at a small house fire only to find the entire neighborhood ablaze. Their resources become instantly overwhelmed and essentially useless. Simultaneously, the glycation process triggered by excess fructose interferes with anthocyanin absorption and utilization. The damaged collagen structures that should be receiving anthocyanin-mediated repair become increasingly resistant to healing compounds. The sugar-damaged proteins can no longer properly bind with or respond to the therapeutic molecules, essentially creating a barrier that prevents healing from taking place. You're left with the worst of both worlds: accelerated leg deterioration from the syrup, combined with completely neutralized healing potential from the blueberries. Fortunately, understanding these mechanisms empowers you to make choices that protect rather than destroy your leg strength. Understanding these mechanisms allows you to make strategic choices that preserve and enhance your leg strength rather than destroying it. If you want to enjoy blueberries for maximum leg strengthening benefit, consume them at least 2 hours away from any high-sugar foods, allowing your system to fully absorb and utilize their therapeutic compounds without interference. The optimal approach is to eat a handful of fresh blueberries first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, giving the anthocyanins direct access to damaged tissues without competing with inflammatory processes. When you do choose to eat pancakes, use natural alternatives like pure maple syrup in very small quantities. Or better yet, top them with fresh berries and a small amount of raw honey. The key is avoiding high fructose corn syrup entirely, as even small amounts can trigger the destructive cascade that undermines your leg health. Remember that your legs carry you through every day of your life. Protecting them from this nutritional sabotage isn't just about feeling better today. It's about preserving your mobility and independence for decades to come. The choice is yours: temporary sweetness that leads to permanent weakness, or strategic nutrition that builds strength and resilience that lasts a lifetime. Your legs will thank you for choosing wisely. But sugary syrup isn't the only breakfast trap hiding in plain sight on your table. Food number 2, flavored oatmeal, turns into inflammatory toxins that quietly shrink and poison your leg muscles. Imagine your muscle cells as hardworking employees in a clean, efficient factory. Everything runs smoothly when they receive quality fuel and materials. But what happens when you start feeding them contaminated supplies disguised as premium products? The workers gradually become sick, productivity drops, and the entire operation begins to crumble from within. This is exactly what flavored oatmeal packets do to your leg muscles. They deliver a toxic cocktail of hidden ingredients that slowly poison your cellular workforce while masquerading as a healthy breakfast choice. Flavored oatmeal packets represent one of the most deceptive threats to leg strength because they combine the worst aspects of processed foods with clever marketing that convinces health-conscious consumers they're making smart choices. Unlike plain oats that provide steady energy and genuine nutrition, these convenient packets contain a carefully engineered blend of hidden sugars, glucose syrups, and synthetic flavorings that create what scientists call metaflammation, a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation that silently destroys muscle tissue from the inside out. The destruction begins the moment these artificial ingredients enter your bloodstream and start interacting with your muscle cells. Your body recognizes these processed compounds as foreign invaders and immediately launches an immune response to neutralize the perceived threat. This inflammatory reaction doesn't distinguish between the artificial additives and your healthy muscle tissue, creating a friendly fire scenario where your own defense systems begin attacking the very muscles they're supposed to protect. This inflammatory assault follows a predictable biological pathway that systematically weakens your legs over time. The hidden sugars in flavored oatmeal, disguised under names like evaporated cane juice and brown rice syrup, cause rapid spikes in blood glucose that trigger massive insulin releases. These insulin surges don't just affect blood sugar, they also flood your system with inflammatory molecules that target muscle cells throughout your legs, creating a constant state of cellular stress that prevents proper function and repair. The glucose syrups present an even more insidious threat because they bypass your body's natural satiety signals, allowing massive amounts of sugar to enter your bloodstream without triggering the fullness response that would normally stop you from overeating. This glucose overload overwhelms your muscle cells' ability to process energy efficiently, forcing them to store excess sugar as fat within the muscle tissue itself. This internal fat accumulation, called intramuscular adipose tissue, acts like sand in the gears of a machine, interfering with normal muscle contraction and making every movement feel harder and less efficient. When chronic inflammation takes hold, your muscle cells begin to deteriorate through a process that unfolds over weeks and months rather than days. The inflammatory molecules circulating in your bloodstream cause the walls of muscle cells to become leaky and permeable, allowing crucial internal components to escape while letting harmful substances infiltrate the cellular machinery. These compromised muscle cells, called myocytes, start leaking important enzymes and structural proteins that are essential for normal function. As these vital components seep out of damaged muscle cells, the remaining muscle fibers begin to contract and shrink, losing their ability to generate force effectively. This cellular shrinkage explains why you might notice unusual fatigue in your legs during activities that were once effortless, or why your endurance seems to decline even with light exercise. Your muscles are literally getting smaller and weaker from the inside out, even if the external appearance remains relatively unchanged. The synthetic flavorings found in these packets introduce an additional layer of toxicity that specifically targets the structural integrity of muscle fibers. Compounds like natural flavoring and caramel color often contain sulfite derivatives and aldehyde compounds that your evolutionary biology has never encountered. These artificial chemicals interfere with the protein networks that give muscle fibers their strength and flexibility, making them brittle and prone to microscopic damage that accumulates over time. The sulfite and aldehyde compounds create oxidative stress within muscle cells, generating harmful free radicals that attack the cellular machinery responsible for energy production and muscle contraction. This oxidative damage operates like rust, spreading through metal, gradually weakening the internal structures that allow muscles to function properly. The muscle fibers become increasingly fragile and inefficient, requiring more energy to produce less force while becoming more susceptible to injury during normal activities. This is where the combination with blueberries becomes particularly tragic. Blueberries contain powerful anthocyanins that normally work like specialized repair crews, targeting damaged muscle tissue and restoring healthy function through their anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. These natural compounds are specifically designed to counteract oxidative stress and strengthen muscle fibers, making them more resilient and efficient. However, when your system is flooded with the inflammatory chaos created by flavored oatmeal ingredients, these precious blueberry compounds become completely overwhelmed. Instead of focusing on targeted muscle repair, the anthocyanins get consumed in a futile attempt to manage the widespread inflammation and oxidative damage caused by the artificial additives. It's like having a skilled medical team arrive to treat specific injuries, only to find themselves dealing with a massive disaster that exceeds their capacity to help. The artificial flavorings create an additional problem by chemically interfering with anthocyanin absorption and utilization. The sulfite derivatives can actually bind with beneficial compounds from blueberries, forming inactive complexes that your body cannot use for healing. This molecular sabotage ensures that even the anthocyanins that survive the initial inflammatory assault become neutralized before they can reach damaged muscle tissue. The end result is a perfect storm of muscle destruction. The flavored oatmeal creates ongoing damage, while simultaneously preventing the blueberries from providing their intended healing benefits. You're essentially paying for expensive superfood nutrients that provide zero benefit because they've been converted into useless compounds by the artificial ingredients in your breakfast. This daily cycle of damage and failed repair manifests as gradual changes that many people dismiss as normal aging or attribute to lack of exercise. You might notice that your legs feel heavier during routine activities, that you experience unusual burning sensations during light exercise, or that your overall endurance seems to decline for no apparent reason. These aren't inevitable signs of getting older. They're symptoms of chronic muscle poisoning caused by seemingly innocent breakfast choices. Breaking free from this destructive pattern requires strategic separation and careful ingredient awareness. Consume blueberries at least 3 hours away from any flavored oatmeal products, giving the anthocyanins time to work in a clean environment free from artificial interference. When you choose oats, select plain varieties that you flavor yourself with real cinnamon, fresh fruit, or small amounts of natural honey that don't trigger inflammatory responses. Most importantly, become vigilant about reading ingredient labels and recognizing the disguised names manufacturers use to hide sugar and artificial additives. Your muscle health depends on providing clean fuel without the inflammatory sabotage that undermines your body's natural repair systems. Every breakfast represents a choice between building lasting strength or creating cumulative weakness. Choose ingredients that support, rather than sabotage, your long-term mobility and vitality. Even if your oats seem healthy, one savory-sounding breakfast meat could be far more damaging. Food number 3. Breakfast. Sausage blocks, blood flow, and starves. Your legs of oxygen and blueberry healing. Picture your leg muscles as a garden that needs constant water and nutrients to thrive. Every tiny blood vessel acts like an irrigation channel, delivering fresh oxygen and vital nutrients while washing away waste products that would otherwise poison the soil. Now imagine someone systematically blocking these channels with concrete, starving your muscle garden while toxic waste builds up around the roots. This is exactly what breakfast sausage does to your legs through a chemical assault that most people never connect to their morning meal. Breakfast sausage represents one of the most devastating threats to leg circulation because it combines multiple compounds that specifically target the small blood vessels feeding your lower extremities. Unlike fresh meat that provides clean protein for muscle building, processed sausage is loaded with nitrite preservatives and excessive sodium that create a perfect storm of vascular constriction, systematically choking off blood flow to the muscles that carry you through every day. The primary culprit in this vascular sabotage comes from nitrite preservatives, industrial chemicals added to maintain the appealing pink color and extend shelf life of processed meats. These preservatives don't just sit passively in your system. They actively attack the smooth muscle cells that line your blood vessels, forcing them to contract and remain tight. The small arteries and capillaries feeding your leg muscles become progressively narrower, like garden hoses being slowly pinched shut, drastically reducing the flow of life-giving blood to tissues that depend on constant circulation for proper function. This vascular constriction operates through a precise biological mechanism that unfolds over hours after consuming nitrite-laden sausage. The nitrites interfere with your blood vessels' natural ability to relax and expand, essentially putting your entire leg circulation system into a state of chronic lockdown. The tiny muscles that normally control blood vessel diameter lose their flexibility, becoming rigid and unresponsive to your body's demands for increased blood flow during movement or exercise. The effects of this circulation sabotage become immediately apparent in your legs, which require more blood flow than any other part of your body during daily activities. Your leg muscles begin to experience a gradual starvation as oxygen-rich blood struggles to squeeze through the nitrite-constricted vessels. The first symptoms appear as coldness in your feet and lower legs, even in warm conditions, as your circulation system fails to deliver adequate warmth and oxygen to these distant tissues. As the circulation restriction continues, your legs begin to develop that characteristic, heavy, leaden feeling that makes every step feel like you're walking through thick mud. The muscle cells, starved of oxygen and nutrients, can't generate energy efficiently, forcing you to work harder just to maintain normal movement. Simple activities like climbing stairs or walking longer distances become unexpectedly exhausting as your oxygen-deprived muscles struggle to meet even basic demands. The high sodium content in breakfast sausage compounds this vascular damage by creating additional stress on your circulatory system. Excessive sodium forces your body to retain extra fluid, increasing blood pressure and putting additional strain on the already constricted blood vessels feeding your legs. This double assault, nitrite-induced constriction combined with sodium-driven pressure, creates a devastating 1-2 punch that systematically undermines your leg circulation. The circulation problems manifest most noticeably during periods of rest, when your compromised blood flow struggles to maintain adequate tissue perfusion without the assistance of muscle movement. You might experience sudden leg cramps that strike without warning, particularly in the early morning hours or during sleep, as your circulation-starved muscles go into painful spasms when their energy reserves become critically depleted. The tingling and numbness that often accompany these circulation problems aren't signs of nerve damage. They're symptoms of oxygen-starved tissues crying out for the blood flow that nitrite preservatives have systematically blocked. Your leg muscles begin to accumulate metabolic waste products that healthy circulation would normally flush away, creating toxic buildup that further impairs muscle function and increases susceptibility to cramps and fatigue. This is where the combination with blueberries becomes particularly tragic and counterproductive. Blueberries contain powerful anthocyanins that work as natural vasodilators, specifically designed to open blood vessels and improve circulation throughout your body. These beneficial compounds should be flooding your leg muscles with healing antioxidants that reduce inflammation and restore healthy blood flow to oxygen-starved tissues. However, the nitrite-induced vascular constriction creates an impenetrable barrier that prevents these healing nutrients from reaching their intended targets. The anthocyanins circulate helplessly through your bloodstream, unable to penetrate the chemically induced circulation blockade that's starving your leg muscles of both oxygen and healing compounds. It's like having emergency medical supplies arrive at a disaster zone, only to find all the access roads blocked by fallen trees. The nitrites essentially hijack your circulatory control system, overriding the natural vasodilation signals that anthocyanins are trying to deliver. Even when these powerful plant compounds successfully bind to blood vessel receptors, the chemical interference from nitrite preservatives prevents the vessels from responding appropriately, leaving your legs trapped in a state of chronic circulation restriction. This vascular sabotage creates a cruel irony, where the very nutrients you're consuming to strengthen your legs become ineffective due to the circulation-blocking effects of processed meat preservatives. You end up paying for expensive superfood benefits that your body cannot utilize because the delivery system, your circulatory network, has been chemically disabled by artificial preservatives. The accumulated effects of this daily circulation sabotage become increasingly apparent over time. Your legs may feel progressively heavier and more prone to fatigue during activities that were once effortless. The morning stiffness that takes longer to work out, the cold feet that persist even with warm socks, and the sudden cramps that interrupt your sleep are all direct symptoms of nitrite-induced circulation damage that compounds with every serving of processed sausage. The only way to restore healthy leg circulation and allow blueberry nutrients to reach their intended targets is to completely eliminate nitrite-containing processed meats from your diet. The chemical warfare these preservatives wage against your vascular system is so severe that even small amounts can maintain the circulation blockade that prevents healing and recovery. If you want to maximize the circulation-enhancing benefits of blueberries, consume them at least 4 hours away from any processed meat products, giving your vascular system time to recover from nitrite-induced constriction. When choosing breakfast proteins, opt for fresh, unprocessed meats or plant-based alternatives that provide clean nutrition without the chemical compounds that systematically destroy your leg circulation. Read ingredient labels carefully, avoiding anything containing sodium nitrite, sodium nitrate, or excessive sodium levels that compound the vascular damage. Your leg strength and endurance depend on maintaining healthy blood flow to deliver the oxygen and nutrients your muscles need while removing the waste products that impair function. Every meal choice either supports this vital circulation or systematically undermines it. Choose foods that enhance rather than destroy your body's ability to nourish and maintain strong, healthy legs. The foods we once trusted to start our mornings, the sweet syrup on pancakes, the warm, flavored oatmeal, the savory breakfast sausage may no longer serve our aging legs the way they used to. What feels familiar on the plate may quietly be draining the strength from your steps. But here's the good news. You don't have to give up everything or change your whole routine overnight. Even the smallest change, like eating your blueberries on their own, or switching to plain oats with cinnamon, or simply skipping that processed meat once or twice a week, can make a meaningful difference. These quiet swaps can protect your circulation, reduce inflammation, and give your leg muscles the support they deserve. if you're ready to take just one gentle step toward stronger legs this week. Share this with someone who still believes those breakfasts are harmless. Your legs have carried you through weddings, vacations, long workdays, and walks around your favorite neighborhood. They've supported you when you stood for others. They've waited patiently while you gave your energy to everyone else. Now they deserve that same care in return. Maybe that early fatigue isn't just from aging. Maybe those heavy legs or nighttime cramps aren't something you have to accept. Maybe it's breakfast that needs to grow with you, not the other way around. And the beautiful part, these changes aren't dramatic or difficult. They're small, doable, and surprisingly powerful. One smarter breakfast, one steadier walk, one morning that feels better than the last. That's how strong legs begin again.